Hey everybody, thanks for checking back in. I'm with Dr. David Shetler, who's an entomologist with The Ohio State University. And Dave, we've had so much rain this year, and I've had a lot of questions about mosquitoes, and actually have had a couple clients ask me to treat for mosquitoes.
Sure.
Let's talk about the life cycle of mosquitoes and what should we expect this year?
Okay, well, as you probably well know, mosquitoes are aquatic insects. Their larvae have to live in water. The important requirement for the water is that it has to be stagnant.
Okay.
It has to stand there for at least 10 days. It takes those larvae and the pupae at least 10 days to complete their life cycle here in the summertime. There's a couple of species that might do it in 7 days, but usually about 10 days is our target.
What are the species that we should be worried about in Central Ohio?
Well, there are several species. Mostly it's Culex, Culicida, which are the ones that transmit the things like the West Nile fever and some of the encephalitis diseases and so forth. And this is what annoys people. They say, I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. Why isn't the city spraying for the mosquitoes?
Sure.
Well, the health department is actually collecting mosquitoes every night. They go out and they collect these mosquitoes. They come in, sort them out, and they figure out which species is which. When it's the species that might carry the disease, they actually have it tested to see if it's got the disease.
Okay.
And they don't pull the trigger until they find the right mosquito at the right numbers and it's carrying the disease.
Do the mosquitoes build resistance to the sprays?
There's some evidence, especially on the seaboard area where they spray heavily all the time, but here in Ohio, most of the insecticides that are used by the city and the state and municipalities, things like that, they're not resistant to that.
All right, so we've got to have a stagnant pool of water, and we've got a pool of water right here. This is really shallow, and this is actually, we're in the Ohio Beekeeper's Garden.
Right.
And they use this to water the bees.
Right. It's shallow enough that the bees can land on the surface here. Even if they land in the middle of it, they're not going to drown.
Sure.
They're not all that bright, but they come in here. It's also shallow enough whenever you get like a 1/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch of rainfall, that's going to flush it. So if there were any mosquito larvae in here, it's going to wash them off to the side. They can't survive out there.
Gotcha.
And it will dry. If you don't get rain for that 7 to 10 days, it will dry up, and that will kill the mosquito larvae also.
So really the thing that, since we've had so much rain, we're probably not seeing high populations yet, but if we get into a dry period and we've got that stagnant water, the tires, the deeper bird baths,
right, we
really should pay attention to those and get those emptied.
Need to get those emptied. People's kiddie pools, things like that they might not have attended for a while. Anything that keeps the water and allows maybe leaves or grass clippings to get into, that makes great food for mosquito larvae.
All right, and here's my last, final, and here's the money question. What's the best repellent?
Well, obviously the medical community will tell you that DEET is still the best one. Now, I'm allergic to DEET. Even if I use the low-rate DEET, I get a skin rash from that. So I use a semi-organic material called Picardin.
Okay.
And Picardin is still available, so if people are sensitive to DEET, try that Picardin. The only problem with the Picardin is that you have to reapply it about every hour.
Okay.
Because it does wear off.
Is there a brand name with Picardin?
I found that the two big, the Deep Woods group and the Off group, both of them have Picardin products.
Okay. So as it begins to dry out, or if it ever begins to dry out this summer, make sure you're checking your yard for any stagnant or standing water. For your garden, I'm Tom Wood.